As humans, we are really good at noticing what we're doing wrong, and we're not as good at noticing what's going right or what our wins are or where we are being successful. But this can actually be the secret to forming habits very quickly and feeling good all the time. It may sound a little weird, but today we're going to talk about the importance of celebrating.
Bring it on. Welcome to the What Could Go Right podcast. We are your hosts, Eric Orton.
And I'm Emily Orton.
And here we talk about personal growth and sailing. In 2014, we moved aboard a fixer-upper sailboat and bootstrapped a year sailing with our 5 kids, and it changed our lives forever.
We tell the whole story in our memoir, our book, 7 at Sea. On this podcast, we want to help you go from fear to freedom, one adventure at a time. I'm so excited to talk about celebrations today. And I'm not talking about the big holiday celebrations or, wow, I just got a promotion or I just finally achieved my goal after a long time of moving towards it. I'm talking about the tiny acknowledgments throughout the day of things that we did successfully or things that felt good or delighted us. And I'm thinking of this because it's something that we have both acknowledged to each other that we've been really bad at. Like, this isn't an area where we're coming from a position of strength. And
I feel bad at this right now, so this is gonna be good for me.
And this is a good episode to come back to again and again because this one is so easy to miss, but it's so powerful. Actually, let's tell the story of the Emmy Award, and then I'll get into why I wanted to talk about celebrations today.
Okay. Who's telling the story?
Will you tell it? Just say kind of in your own words, what happened?
Okay, hang on a second. For those of you that are watching on video, I'm going to just step and grab this thing. I don't pull this out very often, but I have it tucked away in this room. And if you're listening to this, I'm holding an Emmy Award that I keep behind our door on a shelf.
It used to not even be out.
It used to be in a box in the top of our closet. So, boy, I'm going to go back to 2009. I had written a musical and produced it in New York and was working on producing it for film, I guess. You know, we're going to make a film version of it. And anyway, I ended up partnering with a film studio, and we shot it for television. And it was kind of a unique project where it was a little bit live theater, a little bit film, kind of a hybrid. And so it was entered into a special category called special productions, I guess. Let me look at it here.
Special event
coverage. Anyway, I was just excited to have this musical shot and preserved in any format beyond just an audio recording. And that's where it kind of ended with me. I was thinking future live theater productions after that. But one of the producers on the project submitted it for a kind of a lineup of awards. I don't even know what all the awards are, but it got submitted for several awards, and it ended up winning 3 awards that year in various categories, and one of them was an Emmy. And the Emmy Awards ceremony, it was a regional Emmy, and so I think the ceremony was in Arizona or Southern California, I can't remember. Anyway, we were back in New York. The production had been, we'd been on site a year prior.
We did not attend the ceremony.
We did not go. Steve, the producer who had submitted it, he went and attended, and we're laying in bed in New York at 10 o'clock one night, and I get a text from Steve, and it says, "Hey, we won," with a ton of exclamation points.
We're in a loft bed, so I think you climbed down to check your phone.
Yeah,
who's texting me at this time of night?
Yeah, it was late, 10 or 10:30. Anyway, and I was like, I should go back and see if I have that text. I'd be super curious. And I was like, "Hey, Emily, we just won a Tony Award."
Or an Emmy.
An Emmy Award. Sorry. We just won an Emmy Award for this show. And you said, "Well, that's awesome. What do you want to do to celebrate?" And I was like, "Well, we're in bed. How about we..." That was not a setup. I was like, "Well, I think we should go to sleep."
Yeah. He was like, "I think we should go to sleep and get up and get back to work in the morning."
Yeah. And so that's literally what we did. It was like, well, I guess I just won an Emmy Award. And we went to sleep, and I woke up the next day and I went about my day. And that was it. So that's the story of the worst celebration ever. Some of you could probably think of at least one way we could have celebrated, that would have been more fun than what we did. Sorry, am I getting
No,
saucy?
that's so funny. It just came out funny. But it's true. And I know that, the next day I was realizing, like, what would you consider a situation worth celebrating? What would seem like, hey, I should acknowledge this. Hey, I should pat myself on the back, like what would it take? What would you have to achieve to feel like you deserved that sense of success, and
I'm just going to sit here and hold this on camera the rest of the
no,
episode.
and just if you want to, just acknowledge that. And I realized in that moment, myself included, we are really bad at celebrating. And I want to get into this a little bit because I do think that after you have achieved something you've been working for, that it's good to celebrate. One of the things I have a really strong feeling about celebrating is a marriage. And I know when our second daughter was getting married, her fiance didn't really um the need for a celebration or why we thought that was a big deal.
Didn't speak to him.
Didn't
Didn't
it
call
didn't
to him.
speak to him, and I understand that. And having had experiences like this and many others since then, I said, you know what? Everybody's going to make their own call about this, but I believe it's important to somehow mark this day as unique and different from every other day in your life. And it's something really beautiful and it's a big deal. And for us to be able to gather together and say, wow, this is a big deal and we are happy for you. However that might play out is important. But I think I want to talk about even at a much smaller level, how it can have a massive impact on your life. So I remember after this, we started deliberately trying to be more mindful of celebrating.
Yeah.
And so if something positive would happen, even if it's something very tiny, like I sent the email out, right? I've been meaning to write this person or to ask this question or whatever. And maybe there was a little bit of nerves to it or tension to it, or it took a little bit of boldness. You would say, like, I sent the email, and we started giving each other high fives a lot, like a high five, double high five, victory dance. There were so many different ways, but we just wanted to acknowledge, hey, that was a win. It wasn't a Super Bowl win, you know, but it was a win. And I'm stacking up little wins throughout the day. Like we said in the intro, it's so easy for us to think, oh, I did this wrong or that wrong, or this didn't go the way that I wanted it to. And to really like follow the negative trends that we acknowledge. But when we recognize things that we are feeling positive about or feeling successful about, that's actually the fastest way to change a habit. So we actually have a framework that we call the Navigator Framework to stop drifting and start navigating your own life in those areas that you have control. And one of the elements that we include is celebrating. And when it comes to setting and forming habits, that feeling of success is going to help you set a habit faster than anything else. And this is something that I felt like we kind of discovered on our own, or maybe we've read derivative works of the source that I'm going to share in a second. But we came to that same conclusion that if we want more of something, we want to focus on it. The more we are attaching a positive emotion to that thing we want more of, the faster we are going to develop that as a habit and move in that direction. So recently we were at a family dinner and my cousin's wife was talking about BJ Fogg, who is the founder of Stanford's Behavior Design Lab. And I said, oh, I recently picked up his book, Tiny Habits, which came before Atomic Habits by James Clear, which we've talked about on this podcast before. And he has a section on celebration. And I actually want to read you what he says about it. He said, I believe if I could teach you about tiny habits in person, I would start our training by focusing on celebrations. I would help you find celebrations that are natural and effective for you. We would practice them together and it would be a blast. I would train you in celebrations before teaching you about the Fogg behavior model or the power of simplicity or anchors or recipes for tiny habits. Celebrations would be first because it is the most important skill for creating habits. And the reason I believe that it is the most important skill for creating habits is that what he learned is that emotions create habits, and celebrating at the right moment helps you develop the habit faster. He said it's the old myth that repetition creates a habit, like focusing on how many days you have to be doing that for it to become a habit. He goes, that's not the updated research. Habits can be formed very quickly, often in a few days or even just from one experience. But when you have a strong positive emotion connected to the behavior, that habit can get wired almost immediately because his research indicates that emotions create habits. And he talks a little bit about the difference between decisions and habits, that they're the opposites. And also he talks a little bit about the difference between a reward, which celebrating immediately reinforces a habit, and incentives. Is there either of those areas that sound more interesting to explore right now first?
First of all, I'm super happy we're talking about this because I'm realizing and I'd love for maybe you can coach me on this.
I'm 10 minutes ahead of you, so I got
Okay.
your back.
So I realized I had a major celebration oversight this past week. By the time this airs, this will be a little bit old news, but I clicked the go button on a book that I've been working on for 6 years, and I'm self-publishing it. So there's no email from the publisher that arrives and says, hey,
There's no special copy with everybody's signatures inside.
yeah, like nothing shows up in the mail. And I pushed this book out to Amazon last week, and my sister was in town visiting, and I was like, hey, hang tight. I've got to go do some work. When I come down, I'm really trying to get this book out by this date. And I did. And she's like, oh, we should go celebrate. Like, what do you want to do? And I was like, we've got a lot going on. I just need to turn on to the next thing. And one of the things is I need to replace our laptop. And she's like, we should go to the Apple store to celebrate. And so we did. And it was kind of a celebration.
We went there and didn't buy anything.
Yeah, we window shopped, and I asked the person some questions, a bunch of technical questions. And I tried out a couple of models and found out that they're going to have a sale in a couple of days. And so I said, I'll come back. And that was sort of the extent of it. And so me and my sister went to the mall, which is not really my idea of a celebration. And so, but it was great to hang out with her. But I'm realizing that this is something that I've been working towards a long time, and I've done very little to mark the occasion. And so maybe you can tell me what might be a good way forward.
Well, I would say that is a great example of not celebrating.
Thank you. I'm going to take that as a win.
But I would also say what you're talking about sounds like what BJ Fogg would describe as an incentive, that you would say, hey, I've done all this work and now I'm going to get to do something fun. I'm going to go out to dinner. I know we've celebrated before by getting a hot dog at Costco or whatever it might be. I'm going to send out a message to all my family and friends, letting them know I've finally succeeded in this being available for publishing, or, that you're going to do something to kind of mark the achievement. If you have different opinions or BJ Fogg's work better than I do, feel free to chime in the comments. But a reward is something that's going to be immediate. It's like right then. It might be, for example, sometimes what I see you do as a reward to yourself is you'll push back from your desk, tilt back in your chair and smile, or maybe laugh, or there might be a fist pump or a yes, or you'll clap. And just one clap, that's done, that's concluded. I did it. I know when you published it, I came up, I'm about to publish this, and we took a video of it saying hey, we're going to acknowledge this is happening. But it might be something different for every single person. In this book, he gives an example of a kind of a cantankerous uncle who's an attorney, and he loves to argue. And he's saying, I don't have a personal celebration. I don't celebrate, that your theory does not apply to me, And so they thought about it, and he said to his uncle, well, how about when you recognize that you're in an argument and you're winning? And his uncle put up his finger in the air and said, bingo. And that is his uncle's personal celebration, is he puts his finger in the air and says, bingo, I was right. You finally caught on to my way of seeing things. And that's just a little thing that he would do. That's his personal, that feeling of satisfaction. And the thing is, you can actually engineer this for yourself. You want to look at how you genuinely celebrate and then use it on purpose intentionally. So he gives a very silly example in the book of he wants to start flossing his teeth. So his his idea is that he's going to floss one tooth after brushing his teeth, which is already a pretty strong habit. And he was having a horrible day, not just a horrible day, a horrible season. A loved one really close to him had just died tragically and young. He also, a business he was creating was failing, and he just felt super down in the dumps. And he was brushing his teeth that night, and he flossed his one tooth, and then he just said, he's like, well, everything else feels like it's falling apart, but at least I flossed my one tooth, which is like a goal that he had. And he smiled and he said to himself, victory. That he had this one win, did something I said, I said I was going to do this thing and I did it. And he just victory. And he's like, am I a sicko that I'm even going to take any little satisfaction from achieving this one tiny thing when I'm in this sea of discouragement? But because he's a behavior researcher, he took it pretty seriously and he kind of started researching it and saying like, but I did feel better. It did make me feel better. And he started, having other people that he was researching, he would have them add this to his to their behavior patterns and to figure out some signal that would be a celebration to them. And I heard this idea first from, I think it's Ryan Holiday. He's like the stoicist guy.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how he attached a habit of doing push-ups to something else that he did pretty often. So he'd be doing push-ups throughout the day. And every time he would do his push-ups, however many it was, he would then hop up and say like, good job to himself, right? He would just tell himself, way to go. You did the thing you said you would do. And he got that success feeling. And it was giving himself that this feels good. This feels like success to me, that made the habit stick.
I want to get clear on the difference between a reward, an incentive, and a celebration.
Yeah.
'Cause those are some terms you threw out there.
Yeah. I think that's really good.
Because an incentive is like, hey, if you get an A, I'll give you $20. That's an incentive.
Yeah.
And a reward might be, I think an incentive is something that somebody else gives you. And a reward would be like, if I get an A, I'm going to go buy an ice cream.
Well, and I think you can incentivize yourself as well. Like my mom used to have, when I was growing up, she always had a dress hanging up on her closet. Like, if I will eat and move in the ways I've told myself I will, then I will fit into this dress. And that was her. I mean, she bought it for herself. She was giving it to herself.
Okay.
And he tells a story about a woman who he made a postcard. She had a postcard on her refrigerator of a woman who was like taking life pretty chill. Like she wasn't high strung. She was letting things be easy and not taking everyone else too seriously or trying to control them. And she was struggling in that area. And so she thought having this postcard would be an aspirational reminder of the kind of woman she wanted to be. But having it there every day on a discouraging day, she actually found that it was more discouraging to her because she was like, well, I'm not that person. And just like for my mom, I was like, well, I don't fit in this dress. I don't fit in it today. I don't fit in it tomorrow. So
I still don't know. So what is a reward and what is an incentive and what is a celebration?
The definition of a reward in behavior science is an experience directly tied to a behavior that makes that behavior more likely to happen again, and the timing matters. Scientists learned decades ago that the reward needs to happen either during the behavior or milliseconds afterward. So the dopamine is released and processed by the brain very quickly, so you've got to cue up those good feelings fast to form a habit. An incentive, like a sales bonus or a monthly massage, can motivate you, but they don't rewire your brain. Incentives are way too far in the future to give you that all-important shot of dopamine that encodes the new habit. Like doing 3 squats in the morning and rewarding yourself with a movie that evening won't work. The squats and the good feeling you get from the movie are too far apart for dopamine to build a bridge between the two. So it's...
So which one has to happen right away?
So they're both celebrations, but the reward that's going to affect your, installing a new habit, that celebration is going to happen as the activity is happening or milliseconds afterwards. And that lets your brain know, hey, this good feeling is related to that action. Whereas an incentive might be a celebration that comes later that evening or next month or next week. They're both celebrating, but and I think they're both helpful and important as we progress. But this is specifically talking about the power to shift your habits.
Okay, so rewards and incentives are both under the subset of celebrations. So both are good.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm also going to say that a reward has to happen immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And an
Immediately.
incentive can happen further out. And so I'm going to say that for us, and maybe I should come up with one that I can do on my own, but like we'll do a high five.
Yeah.
If something is good, then you and I look at each other and we say high five.
High five.
And we celebrate. And that's like, hey, boom, that's a win.
Yeah.
That like locks it in as a win. The trouble is you can't high five yourself. So I would need to come up with a reward where I can like immediately positive reinforcement, like that was a win.
Yeah, and for everyone it's going to be different, but here's a list that he has in his book. Say yes or yay. And I don't, you might feel a little cheesy, so it has to be something that feels authentic to you. And I have heard so many people say yes. They do like it's like you kind of fist pump and you whisper yes to yourself, or smile really big, like a smile is letting you know that feels good. You could, this is an interesting one. Imagine your child clapping for you. I don't know, that one would not be authentic to me, although my child often asks me to clap
For them.
for her.
For them,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hum an upbeat song, maybe the theme from Rocky, do a little dance.
That's not Rocky. That's the Final Countdown.
Yeah, so that might be a more natural fit for you. It says you can clap your hands, nod your head, kind of give yourself a nod,
I think I'm going to start clapping for myself. Give myself a hand. That's high-fiving yourself, right?
And imagine the roar of a crowd. I've even heard people do this, like, and you can do that for yourself. Give yourself a thumbs up. Think to yourself, good job. That's kind of what I think Ryan Holiday was doing.
Go me.
Take a deep breath. You're just like, that one feels natural to me as well. Snap your fingers. That probably wouldn't be what I'd go to, but sometimes
I'm just
it might
trying
be.
them all
Yeah,
on for
I
size
like
as you're rattling them off.
Imagine seeing fireworks. We often will imagine
a confetti cannon.
Confetti cannon. So that's pretty natural to us.
Okay, so the imaginary confetti cannon where you're like...
That's kind of like telling yourself, yes, that was a good thing.
All right.
Victory.
It's like the celebration that you don't have to clean up.
Look up and make a V with your arms. You see people do like,
can I
like
share
the hands overhead, success.
A factoid about that?
Yeah.
I've learned that, the sort of the double fist pump V hands overhead is like you see that at the end of any race. Like somebody wins, they do that. And the fascinating thing was that I learned that even blind people do that.
Like they never saw anybody
else do that, but it's just like part of physiological response. Like the two hands up in the air is a like ingrained action that that is the sign of success. When you put two hands in the air, you can see Rocky at the end of the match, or, any runner crossing the finish line, even swimmers, they kind of have to hold on with one hand often, but they'll try and put two fists in the air. Even if you visually don't see it, your body wants to do it.
Yeah. Like it's human nature to celebrate that.
So that's okay. That's one thing.
Yes. Yeah. I just think being able to acknowledge that is so important. He opens this section talking about a stay-at-home mom who she's got 6 kids under the age of like 13 and younger. Every day she's only looking at the gap. We've talked about this before, the gap and the gain, where you look at where you fell short instead of how far you've come and how much progress you made. And so, she might look at all the dirty dishes, but she's not thinking about the healthy meal she just serves to her prepared and served to her family. She's only looking at the loss. Whereas if you're able to go through life and, for you, whatever it is for you, this is a very common situation since we all eat. And if you ever provide that, whether for yourself or a meal for somebody else, if you can sit and say like, hey, I got dinner on the table today.
Double fist
pump, or like, good for me. I had a friend who used to say, put a crown on my head, because she was like, that is a win. And being able to notice all of those little things will give you a more balanced view of yourself and help you, as you focus on that success feeling, like, look at all the good that I did today. You can counterbalance some of that negative stuff, but knowing you had that good feeling of, hey, I put a meal on the table today. maybe you're going to be a little more excited to do it the next day because you're like, it feels really good to me when I get a meal on the table, or for me, I forget to eat lunch at all. So when I can say, Eric will sometimes remind me or check in, hey, did you eat lunch today? Is that your lunch? A
Is
mug
that
of
your
tea,
lunch?
not in a rude way, but just like, is that your lunch
Is that
today? Or are
chocolate bar
you
your lunch?
eating lunch? And I can say to myself, hey, I ate lunch today. Good for me. Or that's a win. Then I'll be more inclined to do it again the next time. And if you don't believe that that good feeling can forge your habit so quickly, you do not have to wait 3 weeks to form a new habit. If you will practice acknowledging the wins and actually feeling good and recognizing that you are coming through for yourself and building credibility with yourself, and like that feels good, it doesn't have to take forever. He gives an example in here, BJ Fogg. He talks about how he had always taken taxis. And then he tried Uber for the first time. He downloaded the app, and within a couple of clicks, somebody had come to pick him up in a nice car and drove him to his new location. And it did not take him 21 days to break the habit of hailing a taxi to using the Uber app. He was just like, hey, I figured it out. That was easy. And his brain was like, I feel good. I feel successful. This worked out for me. And ever after, he only ever used Uber one time. And that's his new habit, new go to. That's how I get around. The first time it was a decision. This is the coming to the difference between decision and habit. In the decision, he had to think about it. He had to weigh the pros and cons. And after that first time of making the decision, Uber became the habit. Like the go to, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm not reconsidering my play here. I'm just always going to use my phone to call a car. So for many years, your go-to breakfast cereal has been Raisin Bran. And then one time we tried Raisin Bran Crunch.
Oh,
And it was an accident or something. And then I went and got the regular one again. And you're like, no, 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 no.
I am never going back.
We are not doing Raisin Bran anymore. We are Raisin Bran Crunch family now.
No,
It's you.
yeah,
It's you. So,
I eat Raisin Bran Crunch every day, unless
and
it's
it's
not
a
available.
favorite. It always hits the spot, and there comes a point once, so that good success feeling can create the habit very quickly. And once that is the habit, you don't have to go on celebrating it every day if it's no longer giving you that feeling, because the point is to create the habit. So I don't think you're patting yourself on the back every day that you eat breakfast, or but it was so quick to switch to Raisin Bran Crunch. You were like, no, this is it now.
Well, and I think that goes back to our earlier example of the Emmy Award and also publishing this book. Yes, I would love for it to be a habit of winning Emmy Awards. And I would love for it to be a habit of publishing books. And admittedly, getting this book out the door, I'm like, oh, you know what? Now it's not so hard. It's not so intimidating. I'm going to be more inclined to write the next one and put it out because I've figured out this process of self-publishing. And so it's not, but it's very different from a daily habit or a weekly habit or something like that. For me, the daily habit is writing,
Right.
but knowing that it can then build towards this thing of publishing a book. Anyway, I guess just that different habits have different life cycles, and
Mhm.
some of them are daily habits, some of them are weekly, and so on. And some of these are, I'll just call them milestones, where you do something that doesn't come along more than once or twice a year. And that's a different kind of celebration, I think.
So if we were going to use the Navigator framework and you said the island I'm choosing is to publish a book, when you got into the part where you were setting your autopilot and you were saying that means I'm going to be writing for whatever duration at whatever frequency, you could help lock that in by having a positive reinforcement that goes with it. That celebration reward, like, hey, I did it. Or just that satisfying feeling of like, I opened my computer and I didn't check my email. I went into whatever you use for creating documents and, pat yourself on the back or arms over the head. Like, I don't know, whatever the immediate celebration that feels genuinely satisfying and like, this was a success. I did what I said I was going to do. Then that might help lock it in. That would just be an example since you're mentioning that. And then as you do it, as you hit the different stages, we also are advocates for celebrating along the way. getting the high five from your partner or sharing with your family how you're going or progressing, or if you have an online following that where you like to. I know you've said, hey, I'm at the step where I'm doing covers. How about everybody vote? And it's kind of fun. And we could go out to dinner or go hang gliding or get something engraved, or, there's all different kind of ways to celebrate, get something framed to celebrate that as well. Anyway, I think that's awesome. And hopefully for you, if you're listening, my challenge to you today, what would be a win today would be noticing a win.
There you go.
Noticing a win, notice something positive and say like, yeah, good for me.
And then I would say, and find a way to celebrate.
Yeah.
Notice it and then clap your hands or fist pump or say, good job, me.
Yeah. Victory.
Victory. Yeah. Notice a win and find an immediate small way to celebrate it.
Yeah, exactly. What could go right?
What could go right? Thanks for listening. Before we wrap up, I just want to let you know what is available through our sailing update. We are going to be going to the Bahamas April 13th through the 18th. 13th through the 18th of April. At the moment, there are 2 cabins available. There are a number of people that are checking schedules, time off work and flights and stuff. But at the moment, 2 cabins are available. So if you'd like to join us, that will be our last spring trip to the warm water areas of the Bahamas. In June, we are going to Italy. June 6th through the 13th, we've got 4 cabins available. So I would love to fill that boat and have you part of that trip. It's a super fun one. If you haven't listened to our recent episode on Italy and why it's such a great trip, go back a few episodes and check that one out. Then July, we have 2 sold out Greece trips. Croatia in August is sold out. September, we're probably going to have to switch things up for our Norway trip due to boat availability. So stay tuned on that. What that means is that we will probably open up another week for a trip in the Mediterranean, Adriatic Sea area in September. So just stay posted there. At the moment, moving on, we have October 5 through 10. We're going to be in Mexico. We've got 1 solo female spot left. It's a fantastic trip. It's one of my favorite. So October 5th through the 10th, we're going to be in the Sea of Cortez, Mexico, near Baja Peninsula, and 1 solo female spot. We're back in the Bahamas later this year, November 9th through the 14th. The trip is sold out except for 1 solo female spot, November 9th through the 14th in the Bahamas. And then December 7th through the 12th, we'll be in the Virgin Islands, British Virgin Islands. The trip is sold out except for 1 cabin, which accommodates 2 people, and 1 solo male spot. So that is the lineup. The other thing that I'll say is that we are looking to do a trip specifically for people with Down syndrome. We would like to do it in the spring, April, May, maybe early June. And so if you know somebody or a loved one in your family, or you know somebody that would want to go sailing, it needs to be somebody with Down syndrome and then somebody that could travel with them. And we're going to be sponsoring part of the cost for that trip. There is still a cost to go, obviously, but we would love to have 4 people with Down syndrome and their traveling buddy to join me and my wife, Emily, and our daughter, Lily, who has Down syndrome, and somebody else that will be joining us to help out with the trip. So if you're interested, let us know. We haven't picked a specific date or destination yet, but it's going to be pretty close to the U.S., and it's going to be April, May, possibly into June. So we're looking for interested people. And then once we know who's interested, we'll figure out a date and a time. But that is the update, and look forward to welcoming you aboard soon. We are always happy to tell you about our trips, but we want you to hear from people who have actually come out and gone sailing with us. So here is a takeaway from somebody who has gone sailing with us recently.
But I don't think I had any fears myself going into this. I kind of found it online and I was like, does this sound fun? And she was like, yeah. And I said, all right, let's do it. I'm kind of spontaneous that way. Like I surprise my wife with these crazy ideas all the time. And she goes with it. So best thing I'd taken from this is that at first it was kind of daunting, the sailing part, but being on the boat, it's just, I can grasp it. It's not too tough, and it's kind of like an RV on water, which I'm familiar with. So, and then for people thinking about doing this, absolutely do it once. I mean, at least, but this is beautiful.